Hi, welcome to Art Marketers. My name is Alex and I will be your host for today. Today we have a very special guest named Heather. She is the Communications and Development Manager with Arts Etobicoke, and she's got a very interesting concept to share with us about some of the really cool art projects that they've been working on and how they've been marrying that with technology. Heather, how are we doing today?
Hi, I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me today, Alex.
Awesome. Yeah, super excited. Always love to include more people and really see what everyone's kind of got in the works. I just feel like everyone's been so creative lately. I wanted to learn a little bit more about what your role with Arts Etobicoke is.
Definitely. I'm the Communications and Development Manager at Arts Etobicoke, and I'm coming today, speaking to you today from Takaranto, which is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. And I'm so proud to be representing my local community. I live and work in Etobicoke, which is the west end of the city of Toronto. And I work for a local arts service organization where we provide free, accessible programming to everyone in West Toronto. Our focus is on developing compelling and engaging programs that meet the needs of one of the most diverse communities in Toronto, let alone Canada. And we believe in providing equitable access to arts programming to everyone. Our programs are developed with long term sustainability in mind, and we creatively engage citizens in arts based community development. And my role in that is telling the story, communicating the story, engaging, supporting outreach initiatives, bringing community members to the table. And then also the development side of it is raising the funds to do the project. So fundraising, but also grant writing, relationships with foundations and important stakeholders in our community.
I will say, as with many guests, you definitely wear many hats. So kudos to you. Sounds like you have your plate very full. Yeah, I was kind of curious on just all the various projects that you guys have worked on.
Yeah, so we have a variety of programming that we do, trying to reach all the different communities in our neighborhood, from intergenerational programming, programming developed for families, like our Park Party, which is a model that animates a local public space like a park and transforms it into a cultural hub through arts programming, creating a shared safe space for creative engagement from local citizens, and then also exposing people to new art forms while also supporting non-Western and traditional cultural art forms as well. So it's a really great program that we do. We run annually. We've been able to run it in various ways throughout COVID. Our first year in 2020, we'd normally see like 500 people come to the park and celebrate with workshops leading up to the event. Couldn't quite do that to respect health and safety guidelines, but also the safety and trust of our community. So we offered over 200 micro workshops, which had participants of only 7 people. And we'd sanitize everything and then do it all again and invite people into the park in this way so we could have the same impact on the community in this intergenerational way, but also keep everyone safe and trusting. We have models of arts education, very popular after school art class that we offer in equity deserving communities, but also with COVID, we've been able to reach a wider range geographically for people who couldn't just necessarily walk into our program but could log on online. We also do seniors programming. There's a mall in our community that's very notorious for being this great senior center unofficially. And so we brought art into the mall and partnership with the developer there created a space that was an art space and a cultural hub in that space. We've continued that online with the seniors throughout the pandemic in pre-recorded videos. And actually today, this morning, we started our supposed to be in person, but in person via Zoom, seniors classes again for that community in our neighborhood. We also do artist development and support, and a lot of public art, using public art as a way to bring communities together, bringing people across invisible cultural linguistic boundaries, bringing people together to celebrate their community, to redefine community narratives, and to really engage with their city and have a sense of civic pride in their neighborhood. So that's a small touch of what we do. We have a lot of programs.
Wow. Oh my gosh, you're just really keeping busy, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in the arts industry, I feel like so many people have their hands in different projects. I wanted to touch a little bit on the digital arts programming and just kind of expand into that because looking on your site, there's a lot of really cool projects. One specific that included augmented reality, and so we wanted to touch on that and just talk about how you guys have integrated that and how that's connecting your community.
Definitely. So, as I mentioned, we really are a community-based organization, and community, while we are an arts organization, community development is at the core of everything that we do. And we really have a focus on exploring and redefining pre-existing community narratives to include current community members and their cultural practices. And this is what actually led us to our digital exploration, particularly with augmented reality in the village of Islington, which is our first foray into augmented reality, but not our last. We have three current augmented reality projects.
Woo!
Yeah. So Islington Village is a part of West Toronto, and it's where we have our office. And it is home to 30 historical murals. And while they're beautiful, they were really singular in their focus, and they represented a settler or colonial viewpoint of the community. And the murals were created by this wonderful artist, John Kuna, who was commissioned by the BIA. And so we were, like many organizations around the world, sort of found ourselves discussing these murals and the prominent position they have in our community, and juxtaposed with the current community demographics. So, how do we sort of marry those two? And we decided to embark on this project that would support and complement these murals while also telling a more fulsome narrative of who exists in the community now and who is missing from those stories. So, particularly with an interest in exploring an Indigenous viewpoint and a newcomer and person of color viewpoint. So, making sure to explore the stories of the first people and the residents who currently, and business owners who currently now populate the village of Islington. So, we actually had been thinking about this and planning this, and a funding opportunity came to us through the City of Toronto's Year of Public Art, Artworks TO. And we secured funding through an Animating Toronto Streets grant to explore this idea and bring in artists, commission artists to work with our community to hold consultations, to tell stories, to listen to stories, to be inspired by the community, and then create these augmentations and experiences that tell the story of our community, that complement the murals, and really create a more engaged and exciting neighborhood, I think. And representation was definitely at the heart of this project for us, making sure that they had Indigenous voices. So we have four lead artists, two of whom are fantastic Indigenous artists. And then we have a woman, Miss Coco, who was telling her perspective from an Afro-Caribbean perspective. And then Luke Garwood, who's a contemporary dancer who also brought in newcomer artists to work with him and created these sort of spheres of experience, which was amazing. So we also had 7 community artists who all come from a diverse artistic, cultural backgrounds, and they brought their unique perspectives to augment these murals and really represent the change in our community and in our neighborhood.
I mean, this is amazing. This sounds like a huge project, but especially during COVID, it's really hard to stay connected. So this sounds like a very unique medium to try to be able to kind of connect that community and be able to tell that story. I was wondering how does it work? So when someone's by that mural, what would they need to do in order to activate this augmented reality and tell that story?
Yeah, so we partnered with Albedo Informatics, who's a software developer, and they created an app. They'd already created the app, which is what brought us to them. It's called Large. So you just have to download the app on your phone, or just borrow a phone or a tablet from us, where we have our gallery is located right next to, within a 5-minute walk of all of the murals, 10-minute walk of all the murals, and you can borrow from our storefront gallery. Even while our gallery wasn't fully open to the public, we were still lending out the devices for people to experience it. But we also gave guidelines. So we have they're called walk-in walls. They're little stickers that go on the ground near the murals, and it says "Art is here." And you then it has a step 1, step 2, and step 3 sticker. So you have to follow those, and there's a little QR code, so you can just scan the sticker, and it'll pop up on your phone with information on our website, more about the murals, about the process that we did, and then also about the app itself and how you can download the app, steps on that. So you can download it through Google Play or through the App Store on your iOS device.
It's just such a cool thing to just be able to know that people, anyone who's just visiting or traveling, can see this on the ground and then learn some of that history and some of that culture. It's just an amazing concept. What are your thoughts on expanding this over the years? Do you see this expanding across more locations, across different countries?
I definitely think that there's an opportunity for all sorts of applications for augmented reality in arts practices, but especially in community arts, which is where our heart lies. And I think, we joke, we only did officially a handful of these murals, and there's 30 of them. So I definitely think there's opportunity to expand there. But it's also expanded into another major project for us called Sites of Significance, which is actually larger geographically than the village of Islington. So the village of Islington murals are all walking distance. It's an area that already existed. And what we did with the Sites of Significance project is we identified and animated 6 different sites that are culturally significant in our community to both newcomer artists as well as Indigenous artists. So we have 3 Indigenous artists and 3 newcomer artists that are identifying these spaces and creating these immersive augmented reality experiences all throughout Etobicoke. Now, for those of you who are listening who aren't from Etobicoke, it is a large part of the city of Toronto. It is geographically massive. It can take you an hour and a half on a bus just to get from north to central Etobicoke, let alone going all the way down to the lake. So it is a large area. So this project brings community members together from across the geography of Etobicoke, from across cultures, and from different neighborhoods, and brings people together to experience these stories, stories of immigration, stories of community, stories of connection, and Indigenous histories as well. So it's a really fantastic tool for community building. So yes, I think that there's many applications, not just for Arts Etobicoke, but I don't think that we'll be leaving digital behind anytime soon. It's been a great tool to experience art during the pandemic and during the recovery and rebuilding process. I think it'll be a great tool as trust is being rebuilt amongst neighbors, amongst communities. People are starting to feel when people are starting to feel safe again to gather, this is a tool, an arts expression that can be used in the interim, but also beyond that as well. So,
Oh, 100%. And I know earlier you had mentioned, say, let's say someone doesn't have a smartphone or a tablet. You mentioned that your galleries actually have those tablets. And that was kind of going to lead me to my other question of, is this going to be something accessible to everyone? Because, as we know in the art community, I really love that inclusivity, really love being able to have this accessible to as many people as we can.
definitely. So, accessibility and equity and diversity are at the forefront of all of the programming that Arts Tobacco does. And, digital technology is inherently inaccessible to some community members. There are people who don't have smartphones, they don't have tablets, don't have reliable data or internet plans. So, how could we plan for that? So, we do have a fleet of devices in our lending library. For all of our programming during the pandemic, we've also been lending out laptops, tablets, etc., to participants who want to access our after school art classes or our seniors programming who may not have access to those devices regularly, or consistent internet sticks are available. So really trying to make everything accessible. So with the augmented reality, we do have these devices available. We're creating the walking tours that we were doing to celebrate were all accessible as well in the village of Islington. So we are looking at also, in addition to artist talks on site in the park for people who may not be able to travel to the park where the installation is, we're also recording those. We'll be making those available online to watch on our YouTube and our website. So creating as many avenues for access as possible, knowing that nothing that we do, that anyone does, is completely accessible for everybody, but where are the ways that we can evaluate our program and our program delivery to create more access points?
And that's so incredible. Is there any kind of limitations that you've noticed other than potentially accessibility?
Yes, I think digital can be scary. Just the idea, like, what is augmented reality? What do you mean something's going to come out of my phone? And so a big piece of this for us, which ties in, I think, to accessibility as well, is education. And what is augmented reality? What is digital arts programming? What does that mean to us as programmers, as an arts organization? But what does it mean to people in our community who've never experienced it before? And how can we educate our community, listen to their concerns, listen to their interests, and translate that into a meaningful digital program? So part of this is definitely education. And through this year of public art, we're doing Augmented Reality Village of Islington, Sites of Significance, and we're also doing cultural programming at the West End Hub as part of Artworks TO. So we are doing augmented reality educational workshops with community members. So people who have had no experience but want to be part of it, want to learn more. Also for artists who are like, maybe I could use augmented reality in my arts practice. So we've had a series of virtual reality and augmented reality workshops for artists, particularly, like really teaching them and showing them all the different possibilities. But then we've also been doing community-based practices and programs, educating them, letting them experience what augmented reality is. And then also, these sessions are informing our third augmented reality experience, which is in the mall that I mentioned before. We are creating sort of what we're calling an augmented reality scavenger hunt, where we're having these
Ooh.
posters designed that are going to be all up throughout the mall. And the posters have a QR code that when you scan it with our Arts Etobicoke augmented reality app, an augmented reality experience pops up. And these experiences are created, these augmentations, by the information, the interests of the community that comes out of these sessions that we're doing, these workshops, these educational experiences, really all around the theme of what is Etobicoke to you and what is home, this sort of idea of belonging and of community, which I think we can all agree more than ever in the pandemic has been very important.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I was kind of curious. Is there some sort of payment or subscription that people would need to sign up with in order to access this?
Everything we do is free. So all of our programming is free for the community. We do pay our artists, and when we are doing commissions, artists are all getting paid for their work. Same with our facilitators and workshop leaders. But for the participants to experience these workshops or to come to the augmented reality tours, artist talks, etc. It's all free for the community. We do have memberships, so we encourage you to sign up and be a member if
Of
you're
course.
local. And there are some benefits to that for organizations or individuals. And often we do have donations from participants, but really the part of what makes our programming accessible is that it's free. We try to bring our programming to wherever you are in our community so that you have free local programming right in your own neighborhood.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the things that I think sounds so cool about this project is just the combination of education and fun. It sounds so fun, and it's very forward thinking. So it's just a really unique concept. We're gonna be signing off soon here. Before we do, working in a new medium can be difficult, especially one such as augmented reality. Any new technology can be a little overwhelming. Can you share one challenge that you faced when tackling this augmented reality project, and then how you overcame it?
Definitely. I think for us, as I mentioned before, it's really challenging to advertise an invisible project. So we had those stickers on the ground, things like that. And so, how can we, as an organization, and me specifically as the communications and development manager, let our community know about this? In general, it's easier to see public art that's a mural or a sculpture. You see it; it's new in your community. But these projects are invisible if you don't have your phone out and you're not looking for this particularly. So how can we let the community know about that, and also educate them as to how to experience it? So we went a little bit old school. It's also in the middle of a pandemic when in Toronto for the majority of the last year we've been on lockdown and no gatherings, public, private, etc. So how do we get people out of their house, let them feel safe and experience this and know about it? So we did a few grassroots initiatives. We've been flyers and posters. They say print is dead, but not for us in that
No,
sort of way.
it'll never go
Um,
dead.
so, and using a combination of sort of like high and low. So, our newsletter has been really great. We've been doing step by step, like here's a sneak peek. If you want to be prepared for the launch next week, download it on your phone. Here's where to look for. Putting the stickers out there. We also created a lot of paper products like flyers and brochures. We created walking tours for people so that they could do it on their own. And a big part of how we marketed this was in partnership with our local businesses, who we all know have been struggling during the pandemic as well, local restaurants. And so we partnered with them, and instead of buying, ads in a magazine or the newspaper, we would pay for coffees. So anybody who came and took a selfie of themselves with the mural and experienced this augmented reality could go to our local coffee shop and get a free coffee. One week we did it with a European patisserie, a local bakery, and they could go and get free eclairs and macarons, a little treat box once you experienced it. So we used their customer base to advertise the art, and our audience and participants to advertise their local business. And it was a really wonderful experience. We also commissioned musicians to come and play on street corners with we had little like street permits. And so they would act as sort of our heralds to bring people into the community and say, hey, did you know these murals were happening? And we have a team of community story coordinators and project managers that were out on street corners with the pamphlets, letting people know what was happening, handing out free coffees from our office in the colder months, really thinking about ways that people felt safe engaging, and then how could we sort of capitalize on that to also let them know about these great murals.
Oh, of course. It really is a beautiful thing when everyone can kind of come together. And I love how the project, it's not just an art project to explain or educate your community, it's also bringing the community together and supporting it in terms of supporting local businesses. So that's just it's a really amazing project to see how this is unfolding. And I'm so excited to see you guys continue. I'm looking forward to the next time I can visit Toronto. Um, Luckily, I am Canadian, so I can travel a little bit easier than others. But I am excited to see how this continues to unfold, and it's amazing what your team is doing. So thank you so much, Heather.
Thanks for having us today. And if you come to Toronto, let us know and we'll give you a tour.
Of course, we'll do. All right, we're signing off for Art Marketers. Thanks, and have a great day.